Wednesday, August 26, 2009. Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to talk a little bit today about the health care debate in this country. It seems to me that pretty soon we're all going to be forced, and I mean forced, to buy expensive health care insurance from these insurance companies who have been driving up costs and destroying health care in this country ever since President Nixon ushered in the system that we currently have. Now, the reason why I say this is there's been a lot of hysteria recently over the public option. Now, you might want to think about that just a little bit, those words, public option. Now, of course, public means that it's run by the government. Option means that it's optional. That's right, folks. The meaning of option has not changed. It still means optional. So, these people that are panicking and screaming at the top of their lungs about death panels and people killing their babies and their parents because they're old and infirm, they're talking about an optional system that no one has to take part in. Aside from the fact, of course, that death panels are a complete fantasy. They never existed, even as a concept. Death panel, this all came from the idea of end-of-life care. And some genius, like Sarah Palin, for instance, who believes that she has foreign policy experience because she can look at Russia from her front porch, decided that end-of-life care meant that they were going to kill her baby. Very nice logical jump there. Of course, her and other geniuses like her got on television and got on the radio waves and convinced millions of ordinary Americans that the government was trying to kill them. And given the fact that our government has been acting like a raging psychopath for the past 8 years or more, that's not really too hard to believe, but in fact it's really not true. Our government might torture us, it might disappear us, but as a matter of policy it's not going to convene a death panel in order to sentence us to death for being old. Believe it or not, that's not even been thought of yet. What has been thought of is a way to convince us to storm our local governments and demand that the government take away our options and force us to buy insurance from the insurance companies that have been raping us for the past 30 years. And acting as real death panels as they decide to exclude 18,000 people a year who end up dying directly as a result of not having any health care because the insurance companies denied them the health care. So really it's on one level it's insane because people are jumping out of, they're not jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, they're really jumping off of the kitchen table into the fire because they were never in any danger at all. People are already dying. 18,000 people a year, like I said, are dying because the healthcare industry is not giving them coverage and they can't afford it because of the healthcare industry. And yet, they're all upset about the idea of a public option, an optional public insurance system that they could buy into and participate in, which would be much cheaper than the insurance companies, and therefore that's why the insurance companies can't allow that to happen. And they've stated this. I mean, it's all out in the open. Everybody knows it. Except for the people that are, ranting and railing about death panels, of course. So, basically, they're going to allow the insurance industry to continue killing 18,000 people a year when they could be saved by these so-called death panels. It's totally insane. But what seems even more insane to me is that our government is now waging war in two countries where we have no business being, Afghanistan and Iraq. We're not doing anything there but creating puppet dictatorships. Don't fool yourself. That's what we're doing. We're not fighting Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is the best thing that ever happened to us. That's right. They are the best thing that ever happened to Empire America. Because they give them, they give them an excuse. I mean, you think Bush would have been happy if there never was any war, he was never a war president, if he had been the joke that he started out being for 8 years, or for 4 years, he would have been a 4-year president, make no mistake. Everybody was just laughing at him until 9/11 happened, and then he was the savior. And then he got everything he wanted. And he turned his country basically into a fascist dictatorship where there's no rule of law, torture is routine, it happens all the time, it's done to innocent people, and no one is held accountable for it. We basically have an authoritarian state which tortures people as a matter of policy, and where our leaders can now routinely break the law. Our law, international law, humanitarian law, you name it, they can break it. And that's what George Bush has done for us. He took away all our constitutional rights. No one even peeped. No one cared. No one even raised a slight objection when 18,000 people were dying because they couldn't afford health care. No one raised any objections when we invaded all these countries and stayed in those countries even after the majority of the people in this country didn't want us there. And now everyone's even forgotten that we're even at war with two countries. Everybody's just totally forgotten. They don't care that we're conquering two sets of people and subjugating them to our corporate interests. No one cares. But try to give people an option where they don't have to buy, they don't have to do business with these insurance companies, and people just go insane and they start packing guns and shouting down members of Congress. And what are they asking for? They're asking to be forced to buy needlessly expensive insurance from these insurance companies that have been raping and killing for decades. That's what they want. And I imagine that the people that are ruling over us are shaking their heads right now and laughing and thinking, we're probably doing these people a favor by putting them out of their misery. And I would almost have to agree. It's just shockingly insane. What can you say? Thanks for watching.